Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I am doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight's episode is going to be very interesting, and it's based off an article that is kind of weird, but at the same time, very, very real. It's a real article. It's not one that we're trying to figure out whether it is real or not, like the story that it's telling, because it absolutely is real. And it's extremely interesting. The article is from 973thedog.com, and the title here is According to New Study, New Orleans is home to 50 real vampires. It was written by Stephanie Christ and published October 31st, 2019. Kind of fitting that it was published on Halloween. According to a study now out, after 5 years of research done by a doctoral candidate at Louisiana State University, New Orleans is home to at least 50 real vampires. The study was done by John Edgar Browning, who told the Washington Post that despite having a reputation for blood-sucking and mayhem, they are pretty much just regular folks. There is even an official New Orleans Vampire Association. Even though the term vampire has a negative connotation, these individuals are really just people who claim to have a medical condition that requires them to drink blood, whether it's human or animal, to sustain themselves. Even more surprising, a survey conducted by the Atlanta Vampire Alliance estimates that there are around 5,000 real vampires in the United States. Some are worried about the stigma of being identified as bloodsuckers, so they don't even tell their own doctors what's up. It seems to start manifesting itself around puberty, according to the documentation and studies about the subject. Mr. Browning says the real vampires he met in New Orleans, mainly in the French Quarter, were all friendly and willing to talk to him. Not quite sure if those conversations took place after dark or not, just saying. And that is the end of the article. Now you might be saying to yourself, that's kind of weird. I've never heard of a disease that makes you drink human blood. Sounds kind of out there. But I did a little research on this, and come to find out there is actually a disease that causes exactly that and more. It's very strange. It's a blood disorder that is called porphyria. I believe I pronounced that correctly. I may not have. If I did not, I apologize. But people that have porphyria experience a desire to drink human blood, and it will actually alleviate the symptoms of the disease. This is a genetic disease that they used to think causes abnormalities in a person's hemoglobin, which is a protein that is in red blood cells. That's what biochemist David Dolphin thought. That was his theory. His theory was later refuted, and it was proven that it was based on a misunderstanding of the disease. The real part about this disease, which is crazy, is some of the symptoms. One of the symptoms is a sensitivity to sunlight. Now, it's not just a sensitivity to sunlight the way like a ginger has, or somebody like me who is kind of pale and burns very easily. This is way worse because when somebody with this disease goes out into the sun, there will actually be blisters that will begin forming on their skin within minutes of being out in the sun. Another one of the actual symptoms of this disease is red colored urine, which is very strange. I've never heard of red colored urine before. And that information comes directly from the Mayo Clinic. Now, that could kind of link to why people with this disease were thought to be vampires because of the red urine and the blistering of the skin and everything. But apparently, drinking human blood does alleviate these symptoms, which is very interesting. I wonder why that is. I'm not exactly sure. But to me, a disease like that, it's kind of a double-edged sword in my opinion, because drinking human blood can't be good for you. I mean, that's got to be bad. I mean, you could get all kinds of different diseases from drinking blood. I mean, you can get Hep C, you can get those kind of things from drinking human blood. When I throw over to Old Boy here in a few minutes, he will get into a lot of that with you because he actually used to be in the medical field. He used to work with kidneys and doing dialysis as a dialysis technician, and he knows a great deal about why it would be dangerous. Another interesting thing is that the disease actually exists because there are a lot of people that fancy themselves to be vampires. Old boy knew several in his life that actually believed that they were real life vampires and would do the whole play acting thing of being a vampire, even down to drinking blood. And also in the occult, there are several different rituals and stuff like that that involve the consuming of not only blood but other bodily fluids as well. I'm sure you've all heard of the term spirit cooking. That's something that was in the news a while ago. And essentially what that is not only the drinking of blood, but it's also the drinking of all kinds of different bodily fluids. I'm not really going to go into more detail on the different bodily fluids because it's kind of nasty, but I believe when I say bodily fluids, you know all the different bodily fluids I'm talking about. But they believe that they can gain power through those practices. Also very interesting, but very weird and very disconcerting to say the least. Because some of the things that they do in spirit cooking and a lot of these occult practices are extremely gross for the normal person to even imagine doing something like that. I mean, drinking blood is bad enough, but when you're talking about drinking urine or drinking bile or saliva or vomit or any of those kind of things, it's pretty bad. And I honestly don't understand how anybody could do those things. Even if you, let's say for the sake of argument, that you actually could gain power through doing those things. I still don't know if it would be worth it, to be honest with you, because it's just disgusting. I mean, granted, that's my own opinion, but it's disgusting. But this is something that we have been aware of for quite a long time. Before we knew about the disease, or at least me, I didn't know that there was a real, actual disease called porphyria that caused people's skin to blister when they went out in the sun and they had to drink blood, had red urine, and all that. I didn't know that existed. I did know that there was a psychological disorder that they call clinical vampirism that causes people to believe that they are vampires and drink blood. And I knew that there was a lot of people out there who, for whatever reason, are just enamored with vampires. They love the vampire lore, they love the vampire movies, and they like to play dress up as vampire and pretend to be a vampire. And some of those people also drink blood as kind of part of the whole play acting thing. But to learn about this disease through this article and then actually research it a little bit and find out the symptoms, because the symptoms, as you saw when I read the article, weren't listed in the article. That's something that I found out after I had read the article. But to find that out, it's not only very interesting, but it kind of helps to explain a little bit why this is so prevalent, why there's so many people that are doing this. Now, another little bit of research I did on this, I was thinking, okay, these people drink human blood, and it actually helps their symptoms. It makes them feel better, and it helps to stop them from being injured as much when they go out in the sun, and just makes them feel good, mentally and physically. But I was thinking, where do they get the blood? I'm pretty sure you can't, unless you have a partner that is also into drinking blood. You can drink each other's blood, I guess. And that's one way that they do it. They have little communities where they get together, and it's pretty much like any other community you have, whether you play D&D or you go to different conventions and you like to dress up as members of Star Trek or whatever. It's the same kind of deal. They have a group of like-minded individuals that form a group, and they get together and they feed off each other. That's one way that they do it. Another way that they do it is some of these people have connections with blood banks, and they actually get the human blood from blood banks in order to feed on it and to alleviate their symptoms. Now, this isn't a widespread or legal practice. This is something that is kind of done under the table, but it's something that is absolutely done. I read a interesting interview with a couple of these people that actually believe themselves to be vampires. I don't know if they suffer from this disease or not, but they do believe themselves to be vampires, and this is how they go about getting the blood. Another way they do it is by paying people that are less fortunate to donate the blood. So they will have a setup to where they can get the blood. They don't slice you or anything like that. It's done very sterilely with a needle and a bag, just like you were donating blood. But they will have people that will come in and volunteer to donate the blood and be paid for it. One nice thing, I guess, about that is that they're not hurting anybody. It's all done voluntarily, and the people that are giving the blood are being paid for it. So it's a way for them to make a little bit of money. Because I'm sure we've all given blood in the past in our lives to the Red Cross or whatever. You go in there and you get a cookie and a little bitty orange juice, and that's what you do. But at least this way, you're making some coin off of it. But something like this, if it's set up correctly and it's sterile and it's done by people who know what they're doing, I would say the risk is probably pretty low as long as they're not reusing needles and stuff like that. My opinion on it is it's gross, it's weird, but I don't really have too much of a problem with it, honestly, because it's something that is all voluntary. The people that are doing it, who are donating the blood, they're getting paid for what they're doing, and they're completely cool with it. The people who are consuming the blood, they're not hurting anybody. You know, it's all a voluntary thing. I don't have a problem with it. Now, do I think it's something that is a wise thing to do? No, absolutely I don't. I think it's honestly a dumb thing to do because you're putting yourself at risk by drinking human blood. There's just no two bones about it. That's just the truth. You could get, as I said earlier, different diseases. I mean, you can get Hep C, you can get hepatitis A, you can get stuff like that that could really wreck your life. So my opinion on it is it's weird, it's gross, but I don't have a problem with it if that's what those people want to do. It's very strange that there's an actual disease that causes this. That, to me, that the takeaway from this episode for me is learning that this disease exists because I didn't know it. When I read the article, when I first saw the headline, I thought, okay, this is going to be about people that believe themselves to be vampires. So we're talking about either crazy people or we're talking about people who really know they're not vampires, but they like to pretend to be. So that's what I think I'm getting into when I see this article. But then as I read on, I find out that there's an actual disease, and I learn about the disease on my own, and it's very, very cool. So what I want to do now is I want to throw over to Old Boy. And I would like him, first of all, to comment, if he would, on some of the problems with actually consuming blood from his experience, not only as a dialysis technician, but also from the people that he knew, and then get a little bit into those people that he knew and the kind of things that they did. Because he's touched on that very briefly in past episodes, but he's never really gotten into any kind of real detail on it. And I, for one, am very interested to hear about that. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, this is something I've heard about pretty much all my life. First thing, let me tell you this. I was a dialysis technician years ago. You can get hepatitis from drinking blood. You can get it if you touch it, because I had to use, I had to take tests on this stuff. You can get AIDS. If somebody has HIV, you can get it. If you drink, you can get a lot of stuff. You can get blood poisoning. You can get a lot of diseases from drinking blood. You have to be careful. That's why most of these people do vet the people they do. And they usually find somebody, it's the same person over and over. Because I knew people who were like this. I believe the disease does exist. They do believe that drinking the blood does make them feel better. I've met people like that. They do feel better when they drink the blood. Because I think what happens is it's not that they're taking the essence from somebody. I think it comes on the line as you're bringing new blood into your body. So it makes them feel better. And yes, they can't be in sun too long. They get burnt. Some of them even go to the extremes to have coffins. They have them built, custom made, and they sleep in them. It is also, the whole vampire thing is a very sexy allure. That's a very popular thing. There's people who actually get the fangs I had a friend who got fangs made by somebody down in Hollywood. There's actually a place that does this, that makes actual vampire teeth. And you could probably get them done with dentist if you have the money, but there's actually people who know how to make them fit in your teeth, or you can get them surgically put in there. My girlfriend knew how to, fiance, made teeth last year for Halloween because she works at a dentist, so she knows how to do it. And she filed them down like vampire teeth. But she only did that for Halloween, not that she believes she's a vampire. I love vampires. It's been one of my favorite creatures of all time. It's just awesome. I love the movies. But again, yes, you can get a lot of diseases by drinking blood. And I do agree with this. I've met people like this. I go to a bar, okay, guys. You guys know I'm a Wiccan witch. I do go to a place in Hollywood. I won't say the name. It's a bar where there's people like that. There's all kinds of people, gothic, witches, people who are vampires. There's a lot of vampires in LA and California, in Southern California. It's a very popular thing, and people are not the ones that like Count Dracula. There's people who believe in this, that they believe this is a lifestyle. This isn't a religion, it's a life, it's a lifestyle, and they live this lifestyle. And they really think they're vampires and they need blood. I knew a bunch of people. The reason I couldn't talk about it before, because I got some grief because of it. I'm not going to name people's names now, but when I grew up, I was involved in a cult. It had vampires in it. People who thought they were vampires. Not like they got, they were 2,000 years old or anything. That's what they were. They were vampires. They dressed like it. They had vampire teeth. They drank blood. And they got a high off of it. It's like a body high, sexual high also, too. Some of these people are into that. There's some people who go and get a license in phlebotomy, and what they'll do is they'll find a blood partner, and they'll be able to stop bleeding, so they know how to drain somebody. That's what they do. They'll find a partner, or they'll get a blood bank, like James was saying, but they find a partner or somebody, or their lover, they find that will let them do it. And they have a license in lobotomy, and they know how to draw blood where you won't bleed to death, and they can stop the bleeding if something happened. And they can vice versa do the same for the person they're with, drinks blood too. There's also psychic vampires. They're the ones who drain your energy, like your energy around you. Yes, I did know people like this. I still kind of do. I haven't seen them for a while. A lot of this is a fetish thing too. I know we can talk about certain things on here because it's a PG show, but that's also what it is. There's a lot of people who are fake too. Like they think they're a vampire because they saw, Lost Boys. I've met people who actually thought they were 2,000-year-old vampires. I didn't believe it, but whatever. I'm not going to judge somebody. He really thought he was a 2,000-year-old vampire. The problem was he couldn't get a job and he lived at my friend's couch. So, if you're a 2,000-year-old vampire, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody because I don't judge anybody. I try not to. You're not going to live on my friend's couch and not have a job. You're going to have some kind of money within those 2,000 years. I'm sorry, you will. Whatever. He dressed like it, had the vampire teeth, and he thought he was a vampire. I've met a couple people like that. There are some people to the extreme, as I've met, their skin is very white, and they can't be in the sun because they have there is a disease where they can't be burned. I forget what it's called. They can't be in the sun too long because their skin does burn. My daughter, skin's very light like that. She can't be in the sun longer than 10, 15 minutes or she'll get burned without any kind of suntan lotion. My fiance, same way, she gets very burnt very easy. She has light skin. I do believe there's people who live like this. They dress like it. They get married like that. I've even seen vampire weddings. There is actually a culture of people who live like this. Live that life. They don't go around like people think you're probably, oh, these guys are crazy. They think they're no, not like real vampires. That's just what they believe. They need blood. They live like it. It's just that's their lifestyle. And there is a couple people who believe they were vampires in the past. There was one guy who got in trouble. He was cutting people and trying to suck their blood with he cut him with a can top, like a can. He cut them and then started to drink their blood. There was a murderer. There were vampire killers. They killed people because they thought they were vampires and drank their blood. And the one guy said he took it to the extreme. There's been murders because of this. There's been people who thought they were actual vampires and they murdered people to drink blood. Not cannibals, because that's a whole different story. They thought they needed blood to live. Elizabeth Bathory, great example. Thought that bathing in younger girls' blood would bring her back youth. And she drank it too. She's one of the first real vampires, other than the fact she didn't have fangs and stuff, but she was a vampire if you think about it, because she drank people's blood and bathed in it. So there's people who have murdered people over this, because they really believe that. So I totally believe this. I've met people like that. I've watched them drink blood. I've never tried it before. I've been offered numerous times. I never got into that. That wasn't my thing. I mean, I've loved vampires. It's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite movies is The Lost Boys, Interview with a Vampire, Fright Night. I love those movies. And the Dracula, Brad Stoker Dracula, and the original Dracula, Bela Lugosi. I like all those movies. I love vampires altogether. I would love to be one for a year and then go back to being normal, but because I wouldn't want to live forever, you know? You see all your people that you love die. So I mean, but you're powerful, you know. You kill everybody, you know. You can do all that crazy stuff, but eventually it would get boring because you know, live and see everything, and then eventually, after seeing something for 300 years, you'd probably want to get away from here. That whole living forever is great when you're younger. When you see people around you dying, after a couple hundred years, it starts getting old, and you probably just go jump in the sunlight and die if you were a real vampire. But yes, I 100% believe the disease because I met people like that. You can get diseases from drinking blood if you don't know who you're doing. You wouldn't want to go to a drug. Somebody's on drugs drinking their blood. They can have hepatitis C. They can have AIDS. They can have all kinds of different stuff. You can get sick off of that. I wouldn't do it. I was a dialysis technician for 5 years, 6 years. I've seen a lot of things. I had to be very careful because originally I was a reuse technician. What it is we used to wash artificial kidneys out. So I would have to be very careful because we would reuse the kidney. It's, you know, artificial kidney. You reuse the kidney, there would be blood through it. So I had to clean it out. Some places just buy it all together, but it's expensive to buy one after another. Unless you're these big companies, they do it. They don't care. It's no big deal. They get a deal and they don't care. But some of these, you had to reuse them. So what that means is I had to use them 6, 7 times, maybe 10 times. But we had to wash out because they had a lot of blood and clots and stuff like that. So I would have to use peroxide and Ritalin. But the thing is about that, I had to be careful because you mix bleach and Ritalin, it turns into a poison. So you could kill everybody inside the building. So I had to do a lot of chemical work. I had to be careful because I could get in my mouth. So I had to wear a shield. I had to wear all this stuff on me because we had patients that had hepatitis C. If it gets in your mouth, you can get it. You can get AIDS. Usually with AIDS, we didn't do that because there's just too much in HIV. There's too much risk in it, so they would just use a new kidney for that. But you had to watch sticking somebody because if you stuck yourself, you probably have it. You can get HIV or AIDS. It's going to be HIV, but hepatitis C. You can get sexual transmitted diseases if they have it. There's a chance on that. You know, there's a couple things. The blood just doesn't agree with you. It's not good for you. It's just not good to consume it. Some people are, oh, I need it. You know, that I guess if it helps them and I'm not against it, like James is saying, because that's none of my business. I guess if they know somebody who's clean, then that's fine. I guess the people have been doing it for a long time, so it doesn't hurt them. But if they don't know who they're doing, I don't suggest you doing it. If you're getting in the blood bank, they know there's no diseases in the blood. So they're not going to give you hepatitis or HIV positive blood. So if you know but you just got to be careful. You never know what somebody's doing either, sexually or drug-wise or anything. So I don't recommend it, but if you're going to do it, it's none of my business. You know, I don't look down on you, but this was a great one because this does bring me a lot of memories because I did hang out with people like that. But here you go, James. Go ahead.
It's interesting to me that you brought up Elizabeth Bathory because that's still actually going on today. Today you have the same thing she was doing still happening, but it's just done in a much more modern way. So instead of taking a blade and slitting the person's throat and bathing in the blood, they will take them to a medical type surroundings and do it all sterile, where they will use needles and bags and they will do blood transfusions now. The idea is exactly the same. What scientists have found is through transfusing a younger person's blood, it can actually alleviate the symptoms of many different diseases and cause you to be a lot younger and a lot healthier. At least feel that way for a short amount of time. So you have to get this done every week, every 2 weeks, something like that, depending on what you're dealing with disease-wise. But that's something that is done today. Now, it's not done by the general public. It's not done by normal people. This is something that is done by the elites, the super wealthy people that can afford to do this kind of thing. And it's kind of done under the radar because it's not exactly legal to do. So it's one of those backroom kind of deals that really, really rich people will pay somebody a hell of a lot of money to come in and do this. But it can actually keep you alive for a long time when you were supposed to have already died from whatever disease you have. This is the same kind of benefits that Elizabeth Bathory was claiming to get from bathing and consuming human blood. She believed that through bathing and consuming human blood, it would make her skin younger, it would make her appear younger, and it would make her feel younger. And all the aches and pains and assorted maladies that goes along with being old disappeared for a while she was consuming the blood and after she had consumed the blood. Now they always came back, and that is why she continued killing. Nowadays it's not necessary to kill tons of people in order to get the blood supply that you need to prolong your life in one of those situations. It does take a lot of money. You have to have the cash to be able to afford to do that, and it's not cheap. The reason it's not cheap is because you can't just go to a hospital and have them do it. It's not something that is accepted by society, and it's not something that is accepted by the law. But it's something that routinely happens today. Now, as far as the morality of it, is it right to do that? Well, in a way, yes, and in a way, no. It all depends on how it's done, in my opinion. If the blood is taken against somebody's will, or if you're harming the person in doing it, then obviously that's not a good thing. But if it actually works, and it does, to make you feel younger, to make your skin appear younger, to extend your life, and to alleviate the symptoms of various very bad and painful diseases, then a blood transfusion is a viable treatment. Now, it's not a legal treatment the way these people are doing it, so you have that. It is against the law. But if it is all voluntary and the people who are donating the blood are paid for it and they're not harmed, so in other words, you're not draining them to the point where they're dead, then I don't really see much of a problem with it as far as the act itself. Now, that being said, not all the people that are being donors of this blood are doing so of their own free will. You have some that are. Some people are compensated very handsomely for the service, and I have no problem with that. But sometimes they're not. Some people are everything from homeless that they kind of snatch up and use the blood for. And then you have, unfortunately, a lot of children that this happens to as well. That is not okay. Most of the times with the children, not only do you have the blood transfusions, but you have way worse things that are happening that have to do with their blood. And it is horrifyingly bad. They use the children's blood as a form of a drug. And this drug, I'm not going to say the name of the drug, because when I put this on YouTube, when I put the replay of the radio show on YouTube, if you mentioned the name of that drug, they will nuke your whole channel because they don't want anybody to know about this. So I'm not going to mention the name. But what they do is they use the adrenaline from the children's blood. And in order to get the adrenaline, a child must be in a state of absolute terror. So they have to induce that state before procuring that blood. Now, the way they get the blood is also horrifying because they're not doing it with needles and bags. They're doing it old school. They're cutting their throats and bleeding them out. These kids are never seen again. It's very, very bad, as I said. It's not something that I condone at all. And this is not one of those things that I don't have a problem with. I have a huge problem with this. It's horrifyingly bad. It's evil as hell. But it is taking place. Now, the drug, when they get it, it is run through a centrifuge and purified and then made into a liquid that you can inject. And they usually inject this drug in a spot behind the eyes. And that is the best place to do it and gives the best effects. When they do that injection, it will cause the person who has injected themselves to get a very bad black eye. So it looks like somebody punched them in the face. And one of the ritual things that they do with this is they will have themselves photographed with the black eye, and that photograph will be run in a magazine somewhere. That's kind of a wink and a nod to other members of the elites that are also doing the same thing, to say, hey, look, I'm one of you. I'm one of the gang. This is extremely evil, and it is one of the reasons why you have so many missing children throughout the world. This isn't something that just takes place in the United States of America. This takes place all over the world. And the children are gathered up from all over the world. This is one of those things, if you remember, we've done multiple shows where we've kind of talked about different information and said we'd give you more later on it. This is one of those times where I'm giving you more. This is the reason why a lot of these kids, or one of the reasons why a lot of these kids end up going missing. Before this is done to the children, they are also trafficked for other means that I'm sure you can imagine what they are, and they are not good either. They're very, very horrible. But once they've reached the end of their usefulness, this is usually how they meet their end, and it is, as I said, evil and sickening. If you want to know the name of the drug, just do a little research. It's very easy to find. It's not something that is hidden knowledge that nobody knows about. It is, however, something that the general public doesn't know about. And it is also something that will be coming to light soon. This is something that will start to trickle out in the news, and you will start hearing about it from mainstream sources, I would say within the next year. Once that happens and the name is out there everywhere, then you'll know exactly what I've been talking about. That's all I can really say about it at the moment, but it is happening. There is a group of very sick, very evil people that are doing this kind of thing. But it's something that is shocking. It's something that is hard to hear. And I imagine probably pretty damn controversial as well, but it's something that is 100% true. And I know it to be true. And it's disgusting. The good news is it's something that the right people know about, and it's something that is going to be taken care of. It will be put to an end. But the general public will be made aware of it soon. I can't tell you exactly when. I'm not sure exactly when. But I know that it will be coming soon. And when all the details come out and you find out the people that are doing this and what exactly is being done, it is sickening and it is horrifying and it baffles the mind. I talked a little bit earlier about spirit cooking. A lot of the same people that are into all that stuff are into this as well. It's all a big group. And they're doing a lot of very, very bad things. I wish that the timing was right to where I could go into complete detail and tell you names and everything. But that is not for me to do. My part to play is very small, just to kind of get information out when I can about a lot of these things that are taking place, and it is for others to go into much more detail than I can. But the good news, as I said, is it will come to an end. It will be stopped. And the people that are doing it will be exposed, and they will face justice for what they have been doing. So what I want to do now is I want to throw back over to Old Boy and get his comments on this stuff that I was just talking about, see what he thinks of it. and then whatever kind of sum up that he has.
I believe it's going on. Thanks, James. If it is, it isn't right. I mean, it is going on. Sorry. It's sad. Even if you didn't do it to light, I think that it's never going to 100% stop. You can't 100% stop anything, but people will know what's going on. The only problem is they will try to say it's exaggerated or lied like they always do. But some people will know what's going on. That unfortunately there's people getting used for this. For children especially. That's ridiculous. And it's sad that that's happens. And with anything with children, any kind of issues, trafficking for blood and murdering them, sacrificing them, rituals, whatever, it's ridiculous. And I don't agree with it. So I hope it does one day come out that if that's what's going on, that's ridiculous. The people who can't they're using it to, the Elizabeth Bathory thing pretty much was against their will. Now, people who do this and they're okay with it and they have, they're doing it with somebody who, is cool with it, that's their business. I have nothing against that. That's not wrong. I mean, some people are going to think that's crazy. You know what? The problem is whatever they're doing, they're not hurting people. That they're consenting. But when they're hurting people with against their will, I'm against it. Murdering kids, anybody, it don't matter if it's young, old, whatever. That's wrong. And I don't agree with it, and I'm sorry. It's wrong. If you don't like what they're doing, when they're actually two consenting people, that's none of your business. I think the problem is, and I hate to bring this up, it has nothing to do with this. This happens with everything. I think people have this thing that they have to be like the whistleblowers of the world and tell people what they're doing wrong. Everybody has their secrets. Everybody does something that everybody doesn't need to know. I think it's funny when people do that because we all know we're doing something you're not supposed to be doing or people don't agree with. Not really not supposed to be, but people aren't going to agree with it and afraid to tell the truth. So you do it at home when no one knows about it. But I know there's a lot of people who do that or they're mad because they can't do certain things. So they got to go on somebody else and tell them how wrong they are about it. And I see that with everything. And I'm just saying that with this, you're not supposed to tell people what to do in their life. You can say your opinion, but don't keep going on and on about it. If you guys do have a comment about it, because I know some people are going to say something, and this is crazy. These people are insane. You know what? Whatever they're doing, it's their business. You can have your opinion, that's fine. But if they're not hurting you, then that's fine. It's not your business. So I would love to know what your comments about this. What do you think about this? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? You think it's evil? Yes, killing kids for their blood or any kind of essence is evil. Anybody getting murdered for that is very evil. And tell me what your opinion is on that, guys. I would love to hear that. Because this is something different. We don't really talk about this stuff because, like he said, he can't say certain things or we'll get our whole YouTube page dropped faster than you think. It just happens like that. There's some things you can't talk about. That's why we don't talk about certain things. Especially with aliens, we can talk about a little bit about it, but we try not to get into it too much because they don't like hearing what we have to say. And they'll get rid of our channel. Trust me, they'll find a reason and they'll get rid of this channel. And then we'll be Staring in the Abyss Part 2, but we'll still do it again. We'll just make another name up. But, it's a hassle. It'd just be another thing we have to mess around with. And we don't want everything to be a hassle. I don't like hassling. I don't think you guys want to hassle and have to go look up another name. So, no, I don't agree with it. I hope to hell that they bring this stuff out if people are really doing that. And it's wrong. You should never kill children for that. Never. And this thing, if they're black eye thing, it's kind of like a whole Illuminati. They do a certain thing like a handshake or a finger gesture or a sign. That's pretty much what that is. It's some kind of sign that, oh, you got a black eye. They know what that's about. They got shot in the back of their head. Some people, I don't know, they do it in their right to their veins, or there's other things they do we can't just talk about either. It's disgusting. We'll just leave it at that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show, guys. I really did. It was something different. Vampires are some of my favorite lore, and this was more about real vampires. So, and we got to talk about stuff that's happened in the past. But if you guys like vampires, tell us what your favorite movie was from the all vampire movies. I would love to know that one. That's something new too. If you guys want to let us know, we got that horror site fan club, the Staring into the Abyss fan club. You guys check it out. Justin Cole runs that. So you guys want to go look it up and get added, just go. It's on Facebook. Look us up on James Hersey's YouTube page. All you have to do is subscribe. I love you guys from Para X, man. Keep on listening. I love you guys. Thank you for the people who listen in the street. I have people coming up to me telling me how they love our show. They talk to me all the time and tell me how they love their show. They can't believe what we do. I have people talk to me all the time about our show. And so does James. We're right now working on deals with a lot of people that we work with Tells is talking to certain people in the industry, and we can't really talk too much because we don't know what's going to happen. But they know who we are, and there's been some talk about some stuff. But that's a whole different thing. Has nothing to do with this story here. But just to let you know, everybody knows, a lot of people know who we are now, like big names, and that's so awesome to know that all kinds of YouTube channels know who we are, famous people. I mean, it's just great that they're our fans, and I love having you guys as fans, because I'm not trying to do this for money. Remember that, guys. We're not in it for money. We're in it to learn and help you learn, and that's all we're here. And we love doing it. I love this stuff. It's like a drug to me. It's my drug. It's my blood, So I hope you guys enjoy it. Check out the store. He'll tell you what you can get there. All the great stuff, shirts, iPhone cases, blankets, whatever. Maybe beanies soon. So whatever you want, something, hit us up. We can autograph it for you too. I love you guys. Have a great night, Misfits, Sugar Lady, Monster Hunters, and Demon Lovers. I love you. Blessed be. Have a great night.
I think that one of the contributions that the internet has made to the world at large is, one, it's brought us all a lot closer together as far as geographical distance no longer matters. I mean, Staring is heard all over the world. We have people that are fans of the show and that comment and that message us and stuff from all over the world. And that is powerful in a way. And I don't mean powerful as in, look at us, we're big shots. I don't give a damn about that. But what makes it powerful is we're all connected. The information can be shared with everybody. We can all put our heads together in a kind of hive mind to where we can work together to solve problems and answer questions. We can share information in a way now that never used to be possible. And another thing that the internet has done, which is extremely powerful, that probably most people don't realize, is it's made the individual contributions of individual people a lot more impactful than they used to be. In the old days, if you wanted to reach the masses, you had to go through the system to do it. So you'd have to go and work for a big TV station or a big radio station. Or you'd have to go through a big publisher, big magazine, big newspaper, something like that. All of those things are controlled by the very people that are suppressing information. So it was much more difficult back in the old days to do anything about it. You couldn't hope to take on any of these people and actually stop any of the evil behavior that's been going on since before the Middle Ages. This is not a new phenomenon that we're talking about. I mean, we spoke tonight about Elizabeth Bathory doing the same thing that's being done today. This is an ongoing thing. Now, granted, technology has gotten better and they've gotten a lot more creative with the things they can do. But this is all based on ancient occult practices. But with the invention of the internet, we are all now part of an army for good, an army for decency, an army for each other. You have our backs, and we have yours. We all work together to research and to find information that has been suppressed for a long time. And then some people like us and others, have a platform where we can get that information out to all of you. Now, in every audience, you have a lot of different kinds of people. You have the true believers that will believe pretty much anything paranormal that comes out. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but these people love the paranormal and they are more likely to believe anything that's said. I don't mean any crazy thing that's said. I mean, they're more likely to believe a lot of things exist and a lot of things are happening than the average person around the world would. Then you have the true skeptics who don't believe anything. And it doesn't even really matter if you can prove it to them. They just still don't believe it. They think you're lying. Now, the funny thing about the true skeptics is they never actually do the research themselves or do any of the work themselves to find out if you're telling the truth or not. They simply say you're lying and then move on. And then you have the majority of the audience, and definitely the majority of our audience. This is made up of logical, smart people that are willing to listen. They don't necessarily believe everything you say. They don't necessarily believe that everything exists. But they have open minds and they are willing to listen to the evidence. And then even better, once they hear the evidence, they are willing to actually make sure that you're not full of crap, which is very important. I do a hell of a lot of research. I do a hell of a lot of work to make sure that what I bring you is as accurate as possible. But I never, and I can't stress this enough, I never want or expect any of you that are listening to simply take me at my word on any of the things that I say on this show. I have absolutely no problem with you checking my work. And in fact, I encourage you, please do the research for yourself. Find it for yourself. You will see that I'm telling you the truth. And you will also find, in the case of what I talked about tonight and what I've talked about on some of these other shows, You will also find a lot more information than I am able to or allowed to share with you at this time. The information is out there to find. It's not necessarily easy to find, but it's out there to find. I said before on a previous show when we were talking about these kind of things that the things that are going to be coming to light, the things that are going to be made public, are so shocking and so unbelievable that it's going to be difficult for a lot of people to believe that it's real. There's definitely going to be shock and awe. There's going to be people that are going to say, whoa, I can't believe this is actually happening. This is nuts. There's no way this is true. But as the evidence piles up, as you see photographic, video evidence, as you hear audio evidence, as the evidence piles up, it will be undeniable. And that is the point to where we are all working towards. Now, when I tell you these things, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to worry you in any way. And I'm also not trying to come off as a mastermind behind some grand scheme to take over the world. I play a very, very small role along with thousands and thousands of others who are out there researching and burning the midnight oil, finding information to share with you. There are a lot of us that do it. It's not just me. I don't hold any special role that gives me privileged information that nobody else can find. Because of who I am and because of my life, I have information that other people don't have. But I am not part of some grand master plan. But I also know of the grand master plan and I don't want to screw it up. So that's why I can't share more than what is becoming public. Because if I jump ahead and share everything, that screws up the timing. And the people that need to be punished for what they're doing have too much warning of exactly what's coming, and it doesn't work. So I hope that you can understand that, and I sincerely hope that you do the research for yourself, because you will find, not only am I telling you the truth, but you will find the information that I couldn't share with you. And there's a lot of it out there, and it's something, honestly, that I can't even talk about on the show. Even when it becomes completely public, I don't even know if I can talk about it on the show because it's so bad that I just don't think it'll fly, to be honest with you. I want to sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank each and every one of you for joining us every week and going on this journey with us. And as Old Boy said, please leave your comments on the YouTube videos. Let us know what you think. Let us know your opinions. And if you have any ideas for future shows of things that you'd like us to do, please do that as well. We have listeners that love the show that give us suggestions, and we try to do those shows for them. There's been multiple shows. The Hellhound show is a good example of one that we had multiple people really wanted us to do a show on hellhounds, and so we did. So once again, thank you. The YouTube channel for those listening on the radio is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That is where you will find all of the replays of the Staring into the Abyss show. Also on that channel is our TV show, Tales from the Abyss, that we do. I have every episode of that on there. And I do a lot of paranormal news videos on there where I show you different articles in the news that prove the things that we talk about on the show. The merchandise store, if you're somebody that is into merch or you want to support the show, the merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's teespring.com/stores with an S on the end /staring into the abyss. That's where all the merch is. There's a whole bunch of it, a lot of different items, a lot of different designs, a lot of really cool stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, the link to that store is down in the description box. If you're listening on the radio, you can either type it in yourself or you can go to the YouTube channel and copy and paste it from there or click it. I don't know if it actually comes up as a link or if you have to copy and paste, I'm not sure. But it'll be there for you. And while you're at the YouTube channel, hey, hit that subscribe button. Another little shameless plug. Thank you guys so much. I love you and we greatly appreciate you, and we will talk to you next week. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.